Hello friends, today we are going to disassemble a book. This book has been glued together, so taking it apart is very different than taking apart a book that's been stapled. Taking apart a book that's been stapled is much easier. I recently did a tutorial on that. I believe it was a little golden book actually. So I'll be sure to link that in my description box for you in case you've been working with or you're getting ready to work with books that have been stapled. So as I mentioned, books that have been glued together are very different. And actually, I usually end up tearing these books apart and tearing the pages apart and then putting them back together with tape or whatever. But I wanted to experiment with my heat gun to see if I could get all of the pages apart from each other without tearing them. While I described what we were going to get into today, you can see that I used my razor tool and I went down the inside of the book on both sides, front and back, to remove the pages in a bulk form. Now, because I'm going to alter this book cover, because I'm going to turn this book into a journal, I need to go ahead and separate the spine from the front and back covers. So again, I am using my razor tool. I'm finding the seam, if you will, where the covers attach to the book spine, and I'm just going to use my razor tool and go down and score that, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut that score with my scissors. That is done. We're going to set that aside and we'll get back to working with that later. Here are all of the book pages and you can see that they are all glued together. So I'm going to investigate this, take a look at it, see what we've got here. What I find is that I have 6 signatures. So the first thing I want to do is separate those signatures from each other. I'm not going to lie, it takes me a couple of minutes to figure out exactly what I'm doing and how I'm going to go about doing this properly. So I warm up some of the glue here in the center, but that doesn't end up helping me yet. Now, eventually we are going to do that technique, but not quite yet. I finally realized that the best way to go about this is to heat the glue that's on the outside of the spine. So I'm starting with the top, and you can see I'm separating that glue. It's warmed up now, so I'm separating those signatures from each other. And I'm going to end up taking this a few inches at a time. As you can see, we have worked our way to the bottom of the pages, so I just have a little bit to go, and here we are separating the signatures. Once you're done applying heat, something I noticed is that the glue hardens back up, which of course that makes total sense. And that's good and bad. What's good about it is it'll keep the center strong because there's going to be a little bit of glue residue on it. But if it's lumpy, that's not so great. So I'm just going along the edges with this heat gun and I am smoothing the glue out. Now, what you saw me do just now was the front page and the back page are stuck to 2 of the signatures, so I'm just removing that plain page. We got the signatures separated from each other, so now how do we get the pages separated from each other? And the way we're going to do that is again with this heat gun. We're going to find the center of the signature, open the book up, lay it flat, and then we're going to start to hit it with the heat. Then I will peel up each page one at a time. I'm going to do that with every single one of the pages. So since there are 6 signatures, I'll be back once I get that done. I want to tell you about my inspiration for this journal. I am using the digital kit created by Line Dot Arrow called Spring Bloom Vintage Junk Journal Kit. It is a beautiful kit. It is perfect to go and work with this secret garden book. And the first thing I'm going to do with the kit pages is I'm going to fold them in half, and then I'm going to work them into the book pages. So while you watch me do that, I want to tell you about my inspiration for this particular project. So during my 2K giveaway last year, I asked you guys to send me suggestions for journals that you'd like to see me make. 4 of you said specifically a garden journal. And my friend Janet with Photography Makes sent me this secret garden book. This whole book, she sent it to me. And because I had asked for ephemera. Well, she sent me some ephemera, and then she also sent me the book. So that's what we're using, and that's my inspiration. Now, I have 4 other friends that I want to tell you about that also said they'd like to see me make a garden journal. My friend Sharon Shyne said she wanted me to make a garden journal, and she sent me some ephemera, as did RoseMary of RoseMary You Rock Art, and my friend Colleen at C2 Serendipity. So thank you, ladies, for contributing to this Secret Garden Altered Book Junk Journal. As I mentioned, this book has 6 signatures, but it has 4 chapters, a chapter for each season. So there's winter, spring, summer, and fall. I do believe it starts with summer and ends with summer, actually. They split that one in half. I've done a few videos lately where I showed you how I taped the front and back cover of the books to the new spines that I made, so I didn't show that to you in this video, but I will try to remember to put those videos in my description box in case you'd like to see how I did that. In case you'd like to see how to sew your signatures in, I will go ahead and show you how to do one of them. Take your wax thread and pull 3 lengths of your spine. If you pull 3 lengths worth, you will have enough to sew your signature in and a little bit left over to hang some bead dangles if you'd like to. Since this book does have 6 signatures, I'm going to go ahead and have to make myself a little diagram to make sure that I don't sew them in crooked. I'm using a white piece of paper and I am scoring it with my thumb. That way I will know where the front and back covers start. Hopefully that makes sense. I decided actually that I want to go ahead and mark that with a yellow pen so that I know for sure at a glance that those are the edges and I don't want to put any holes near the edges. Now I'm going to grab my ruler and I'm going to figure out where the center is. Now if I had 5 signatures, the center would be where I would put my middle signature, but I have 6, so I need to remember that. I have 6 signatures, so I'm actually going to start the signatures going out from the center. But let's start with the basics. I'm marking the center on the top, then I'm going to mark the center on the bottom. Once I do that, I am going to draw a line from the top dot to the bottom dot. That way I will know that the center is straight. Now I'm going to work out from the center and evenly place the dots where the signatures are going to go. I know that I need 3 on each side of that center mark. Once I get them marked, I'm going to draw a line, from the top to the bottom on each one. Now, when I have a book that's between 1 and 3 signatures, I don't go to all this trouble. But for one that has so many, it would be so easy to mess it up. So that's why I'm being so detail-oriented about it. I'm going to go ahead and use a 3-hole pamphlet stitch on this. You can use 3, you can use 5, there's probably a lot more that you could use, but I'm going to go ahead and choose to use 3, which means that I need to go ahead and make a mark in the center horizontally. Then I will make a mark at the top horizontally, and I'll make a mark at the bottom horizontally. I like to come in an inch or so from the top and an inch or so from the bottom. I don't like to put my holes too close to the edge. Now I'm just going to go with a darker marker and mark the spots where I'm going to go ahead and put in all through this paper, and you'll see why I'm going to do that. But this way I'm not gonna miss and hit the wrong line or anything like that. So you can see this is my awl, and I am popping a hole through each one of the dots that I created. Now the reason that I'm doing that is because when I place this paper down on the spine of the book, I will be able to put a marker up to it, and it'll go through the hole and it'll mark the book. And that way I will have perfect dots on the spine so that when I go to sew my signatures in, everything should line up beautifully. That's the theory anyway. Now you'll notice I placed the paper down and I lined it up with the bottom of the book to make sure that it was actually straight. Now I'm taking my marker and I'm just putting a little dot right there on each hole, and you saw that I checked it to make sure it was coming through. I'm using blue so that it will match the fabric. Once the signatures are sewn in, they shouldn't be visible. I wanted to mention to you guys that I do not mark my book pages to coordinate or match up to the marks that I put on the spine. You don't have to do that. And it can become confusing actually if you do that. It's very easy to eyeball where you want those holes to go. And the holes don't have to go where you put the dots. As long as they line up vertically, that's all that matters, is they actually line up vertically. You don't have to put your actual holes where your dots are. I have threaded my needle and I have placed my papers where I want them to go. So check your book cover. Make sure that they're not sitting too low or too high. If you want to, you can use some sort of pins or clips to hold your pages to the book cover, but personally, I find that those get in the way, and I find that they actually make my pages sort of pop up from the book, and I don't like that. So I just sort of hold them in place with my hand as I'm pushing the awl through, and you'll see it pop through right here. Now I am working through 2 pieces of fabric and cardboard, and that can be tough sometimes, so I had to sort of pull it through my fabric. Well, I actually had to push my fabric down so that my awl would be able to go through it, but I did get it. So now I have a hole in the book pages and the book spine, and now I'm pushing my needle through, and you can see it come through right there. Now at this point, a lot of people do this differently. I take some shortcuts here. I leave my needle in there because it sort of secures my pages into place. Now I'm taking the awl and I'm pushing it through the pages, and then it will go through the spine. And again, as long as I line that up vertically, it doesn't matter if I get right on the dot. I'm very good at eyeballing it, and I am usually able to get on the dot. But, it doesn't have to be exact. It really, honestly, it doesn't matter. Now, if you want your book cover to look super good, you're not planning on covering that spine with fabric or lace or anything, then you might want to get it where the dots are, because then it will look perfect. But if you're not exactly concerned about utter perfection, then you don't have to get it where you put your dots. Sorry, my hand went right up into the camera there as I was pulling my needle through. So now we are making the 3rd hole, and that's going into the bottom. So we started in the middle, I went up to the top, and now we're going through the bottom. If you've never done one, just consider doing one with paper and one signature. Just practice on scrap paper if you want to. Make a coloring book for your kid, something like that. And it'll give you practice. And once you do it, it's the mystery is done. It won't be a big deal for you. Once you do it once or twice, it'll be just second nature. So I'm coming up through the middle. We're going back through the middle, and here we are coming up through the paper. And sometimes I have to go 1 page at a time, believe it or not, and that's okay. Take your time. This is not a race. So eventually I'll get it up through there. And there we go. It should be coming now. There we go. I think I got it. A little bit tough sometimes to work through that fabric, but I did get it. Then you just want to make sure that you have one piece of string on the left side of the center string and then one on the right side. That way when you tie your knot, it holds everything secure, but the string will not pop back through the spine, and hopefully that makes sense. So one on the left, one on the right, then tie your knot. Also, yeah, I'm checking to make sure it's tight enough. You definitely want to make sure it's tight, because if it is not tight, then your signatures won't be tight and they'll be moving around in there, and you don't want that. I triple knot mine, by the way. You can double knot it, but I tend to triple knot mine, and then I press something down on that wax thread to sort of mush the wax together to keep it knotted so that it will never come untied. That's the hope anyway. Seems to work. So far, so good. That is it. I have 5 more signatures to do. Hang tight and I'll show you what it looks like with the 5 other ones in. All right, here it is with the other 5 signatures. So far, I'm very happy. Look how nicely they lined up. Very happy with this project so far. The next video that you're going to see with this project is going to be the flip through. Friends, I've been super busy. I have not had time to record, but at least you'll be able to see the flip through. This journal will be available in my Etsy shop if you are interested. I appreciate you coming over and hanging out with me. Thanks for watching. See you soon.